Welcome back to the Follow the King podcast. I am Elder Frank Days. I'm here with Apostle Kenneth K. Law. And today we're going to take out some of the highlights, some of the gems from the message that was given today. My prayer is always that you go back and make sure you check that out for yourself. Please go to our YouTube, check the message out, share it with your family, share it with your coworkers, share it with your friends, because it was a word in the house today that's needed for everybody. So as always, y'all, we have to start off by hearing and understanding the man of God's heart behind the message. Because sometimes hearing the message and seeing it for yourself to give you that clarity and that understanding of where it's coming from, you want to kind of dig back and like, okay, where was God at with you when he gave you this pertaining to a father's job? What a father does with positioning and putting his children in place.
Well, it would be good if everyone goes back to the message from last week. Because the message from last week lays the foundation for mending the washing nets. And
that's right.
It helps to understand, especially when it was Father's Day and ministering to the men. We don't, mending the nets is make sure the tears and things that have happened when they're trying to catch fish. Sometimes the nets are attacked by other predators. Sometimes the nets are torn or ripped by propellers or whatever. So when in that day when they are washing and mending nets, they're washing the nets because they have to wash out seawater, debris, so that things don't get too entwined in there and rots and cause the nets to rot. And then the mending is that they daily has to be a time when they fix what's torn.
Okay.
Fix what has been ripped apart. So from the perspective of Father's Day, it was that some of us, it's hard. It's one of the frustrations. I think I put out here one of the frustrations, biggest frustrations for men. I think I put it here is.
Was it one where you said
too many men, fathers have been working hard all these years to bring in the catch for their families, but have been working with broken nets that are full of holes. And so on last week, we talked about the nets being filled with holes, not being mended. And then there's some men, we didn't even know we had nets to cast.
That's true. That's true.
Because our fathers didn't teach us about our nets. Didn't teach us how to do business. Didn't teach us how to raise families. So they were not in place.
Yeah.
So you got men trying to catch and come through for their family, come through big, but have no nets to come through big with. And the nets they have been torn, but no one taught them how to mend them or wash them to keep them up. So last week's message was about bringing some healing to men and bringing them to a place that they can now launch out into the deep because their nets have been mended. And what's happening, we're trying to catch mega, but we got holes in our nets.
In it. Stuff slipping.
Stuff slipping through, stuff slipping out. And I think I ended the service by saying this is the time that we're coming in because we've been mended, because we're washed by the blood, mended by the word, healed. Now nothing's going to slip through. Your family's not going to slip through. Time's not going to slip through. No more opportunities slipping through. So fast forwarding to today, what I did was I just built on a little bit about Zebedee. So when Jesus comes, he finds them. He finds the sons, finds James and John. They're mending. They're doing it. When Jesus comes up, Simon's over there. He's casting nets. They're still fishing. They're bringing the boats in. So when he comes upon them, they're all in some kind of function of service.
Already.
They're already doing literally the ministry, casting nets, the word, drawing the fish in, preparing them to be caught into the kingdom. So their principles are already set.
That's good.
Because of Zebedee.
That's good. That's good.
So Zebedee is the father that actually goes to make sure his sons are positioned to follow Christ. So he doesn't fight them leaving. He doesn't put up resistance because he's done his job.
That's good.
So the job, one of the jobs of the father is to position his sons to follow Christ, to be found by Christ, so that when they hear the call, they can go. And what's happening, we're not positioning our children to follow Christ. Zebedee, we don't talk about him. We just know that he's the one that got left behind.
Yeah.
But he's the one that prepared them. Without Zebedee, they don't answer the call.
Come on, sir.
Zebedee's the one that prepared them to hear the call and respond. Mm. And the beautiful thing is, Jesus doesn't take them away from what their father taught them. Mm. He builds on it because Zebedee has given them a foundation. He says, now I'll make you fishers of men. So he doesn't eliminate Zebedee's work.
Oh, that's good.
He doesn't disrespect Zebedee. He actually is saying, thank you, Zebedee, for teaching them how to fish. I'm now going to broaden their scope, their net, their destiny by now doing what you prepared them to do, but for the kingdom.
Come on, that's good.
So God doesn't come in to disrespect fathers, which shows you the need for fathers, spiritual and natural.
Wow.
So the Father in heaven works with the fathers of the earth, so that the fathers of the earth, spiritual and natural, position the sons to answer the call. But when the call comes, Jesus only asks for the sons to come, but the hirelings, the servants, stayed on the boat.
I like what you said about that when it came to the actual servants. The hired help was pretty much those that weren't fathered.
A lot of people, it's amazing. And I think I may speak for myself, but maybe I speak to some leaders that may hear this. A lot of times people come into ministry that are not fathered. And our job is to help father them, mature them, not daddy them, but father them to the Father. Sometimes we get caught, we're trying to father them to us. No, our supposed job, he says, I've given some to be apostles for the equipping. So I've given you this structure that they would father you and mature you to me, in me, not to themselves. So the goal is not for us to father you to me.
Yeah.
Is my goal is to father. He says, I labor in birth. Paul said, I labor in birth pains until Christ is formed in you. Not Paul is formed, but Christ is formed. While Paul does have a grace that God give him, and you are the signs of his apostleship, still the overall goal of Paul, even to Zebedee, is to father Christ in you, put you in position for you to hear the call and to follow Christ. That's the goal of a parent. The truth, we say train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's older, he will not depart from it. If I train him and put him up in position, he won't depart from Christ because he's too busy following Christ.
You know what? I'm glad we're talking about that too, because I wanted to ask just a question when it comes to those that are not fathered. What would be the best way for those that are not fathered? Once they come into the understanding of the kingdom and they get into a leadership, when there's a true apostle, teacher, evangelist, pastor, prophet in front of them, and God has sent them into that person's life to help point them back to God. Like, how does one who has not been fathered and struggles with that ego, or either that I'm not listening to nobody, or I'm not trying to hear that, or they talking to y'all, they not talking to me, I'm good. How do you even help point somebody like that to Christ when they already come in the condition of an orphan? I know it's a long process. I know it takes time, but like, how do you even start to even get those ones that are orphans to even know that that's what they're dealing with?
I think it's sometimes it's difficult, but one thing I've learned in doing this and walking with you all and y'all walking with me, I think one of the things that really brought us together and what allowed you to follow me as I follow Christ was the consistency of love. Whether we agreed or disagreed, our love was always consistent and it was authentic.
That's good.
And I think sometimes what happens, in order for an orphan to move into sonship, the love has to be authentic. Because all an orphan is someone that's separated from the love of a father.
Wow.
So love has to be modeled consistently. Not preaching, but it's the love that is modeled in the preaching and in the teaching. Because anybody can sit there and hear you preach, but don't feel the love come. So
That's
yeah,
good.
you hit me. Yeah,
That's
that
good.
was you did that word.
That was good.
But that love thing is
Yeah.
really what I want to feel from you and experience from you. Because some people don't need a message; they need a method. And the method of love allows the message to reach the heart. So when we are void of love, what did Paul say? Without love, I'm just a bunch of noise. So though I can prophesy, I can do all this stuff. He said, without love. So love has to be the motivation of our leadership. It has to be, when I say yesterday about God-centered leadership, God-centered leadership is love-centered leadership.
Wow.
So it's the core of it.
Yeah.
So my love for you, I may not know all the Hebrew and the Greek, and for Jameson, y'all have been with me for years. But there's one thing we all three can say: our love for one another has been consistent and authentic. So when correction came, it was never seen as abuse.
No,
because you had to correct in love. Because our relationship is based in love.
Yeah.
So I can't just be beating you. Because it's hard to abuse a person that the love is so strong that the correction has to still be dipped in love. You see what I'm saying? So that they can, it was tough to hear, but I know he loved me.
I know where it comes from.
I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
See, and that's what keeps the covenant, that keeps the growth, and that helps everyone to mature.
That's good.
But when love is void, then that person looking at that is like, see, this is what I've learned in the Holy Spirit. It's not that people are jealous of people around me thinking they're in leadership roles and they want to be that. I think what people are thinking that you all get a certain love that they are looking for, when really Luanda and I do our best to paternally love everybody.
Yeah.
In the church.
Everybody.
This is your role to be here with me. But my love for you is not greater or lesser than the person that's sitting right there. Yeah. And most people, once they get around us, they realize, oh, he loves us the same. I'm just not standing next to him. So we don't section off love because you're an elder. I can't do that because God loves me and the sinner. So you can't section off love until they get to a certain place. It's love that draws them. Yeah. It's love that keeps them. It's love even when they fail. It's love that restores. Love restores sons. When sons go, is when the prodigal son came home, the father ran out
to him
to meet him. Watch this. To meet him with love, because judgment from everybody else was coming behind him. So he meets him with love first. Let me put my arms around you and shake your neck because I'm upset, but I love you. And don't you ever do that again. But you know, your brother about to be hard on you. But we're going to celebrate you. So let me meet you with love first before criticism, before judgment.
That's good.
Before condemnation comes.
That's good.
So that love shields you, and you know at the core, my father loves me.
That's good.
My brother's upset with me, and the folk are like, where you been? You don't squander all this money. But love brought me back. Love lifted me. So he's able to receive the new robe, the new ring, the new sandals, because love met him before judgment found him.
Wow.
That's how you help an orphan you love. It's the model of love.
That's good. Consistent love,
Just
man.
love 'em.
That's good because when you think about the Father's love, you know, his love is to always be up front. His love comes first before the actual correction. You experience the love first. But, it almost like you have to be willing to receive the Father's love, because that's his job. That's what he does. That's what he's there for. But you have to have an open heart to be able to receive that.
He says he chastens those who he
loves. Which is good, man. I'm glad we're talking about this about fathers too. I want to go back to, I believe that's Mark, 1:16 through 20, when you were talking about when Jesus pretty much saying to them, follow me, and I will make you to become fishers of men. And last week you mentioned on how important it is for things to be passed down from the father to the children, which I think for me, what I see from a lot of men, a lot of young boys, is those steps that were missed about the times of implementation or, them actually giving them the gems and the tools and the stuff they need to be who they are, and giving them or putting them in the right position, a place to follow Christ. I mean, that's almost been like a, and you even said that sometimes that thing be generational, where it goes like through the family lineage, where men just always missed it. They missed putting their sons in right position, in right place. They didn't give them the tools that could create generational wealth, or the tools that could. And you were saying it today how important it is when they turned around. They turned around and left work. They didn't just leave, nothing to follow Christ. They had work in their hands. They already had what a father would give. They were good. They were already established and set up because he did what he was supposed to do as a father for them. So he said when they turned around to leave, he wasn't bothered by it. How many parents right now are contemplating or suffering with dealing with letting go of their children, regardless of their age, because they know they're not fully equipped.
They're not fully equipped, and sometimes parents try to live their lives through their children. And when God says, I need them for this, we won't let them go, because we've been enabling them the whole time. We've been stroking them, spoiling them, giving them what they want, bailing them out, and not just bailing out of jail. I'm talking about bailing them out of life lessons that they need to learn principles from. So if you keep taking the class for them,
that's good.
Then you can't get mad that they don't graduate on time.
Wow.
Because you keep taking the class.
Wow.
You keep taking the test. So don't cuss the teacher out, cuss yourself out.
Because it's you.
Because he didn't graduate because you kept taking the class for him. She didn't graduate because you kept taking the class. So you're trying to live, and some people try to live their dreams of what they didn't get to do. I want you to do. So some people want to go into ministry. There are some young people that have a desire, but because their parents don't think much of ministry, don't think much of them becoming a dancer, don't think much of, because that you can't make no money, or you can't make us look proud. So when Jesus come calling for them, they're like, that ain't God. Because I'm trying to give you my fishing empire. And despite all that, he still does not resist Christ when Christ calls for them. Because where you taking my children? Oh, they're going to stand here and take care of the family business. But a true parent, like I said, true parent, but a parent's job is to prepare their children for the will of God. For the will of God.
Wow.
So that when the call comes, they walk in the will of the call. Because there's this thing called a will call. Matter of fact, thank Holy Ghost. And what they do, somebody will put tickets down at the box office. It's called will call or call. What's it called, Jameson? It's a will call. And what it is, the tickets are already there. You just got to go to that particular window, and your name is on the list. Which means there's things that God has already put in place for us with our name on it that we don't have to stand in line for. Our calling has already been put in place, and it's the will call. So the will of God calls us, and it's already there, and we just got to go not to that window, go to this window. Your name is already prepared, already written. These are your tickets. It's already put in place. As a parent, we have to prepare our children for the will when it calls. Yeah, I want my child to go to college. Yeah, I want them to do this. But above all, I want them to follow Christ.
That's good. because that conversation needs to be had, because there's a lot of children who are conflicted on what they want to do or how they even see life right now, because they've been pressured so much by the lost dreams and the lost hopes of their parents into doing things that they didn't even have a desire to do. It was just something that their parents desired or their parents liked to do. And now they conflicted. They feel drawn to other things. They feel drawn to other spaces, other places, but they can't do it because now they conflicted, battling with, well, mama said, well,
what you can do, you find out he don't want to play basketball. I don't care if he's 6'5". What if he simply don't have no passion for it? And he wants to be a painter.
Wow.
Oh, my child he going to the NBA. He gonna buy mama a house. No, mama, you gonna buy your own house.
That's it.
Yeah, because you can't snatch him out that he's not or put him in something that God hadn't willed for him to be. You're gonna make him miserable, and he's gonna shorten his life. because there's no joy. He's prosperous, but he's not joyful. And so we have to train, we have to position our children. As much as you're positioning them for scholarship, you're positioning them to achieve academically, athletically, all that stuff. Above that, position them to follow Christ. So when he calls, you know exactly what this is. Follow him. That's our job. That's my job as an apostle. Our job is not to build up all these empires and I'm chief apostle and this and that. No, my job is to position you. So if there's a call come that you say it's time for me to go or time for me to pursue this or whatever, I don't stand in the way of that because that's my job.
It's a job,
to position you to follow Christ. I'm fine. I own the boat. I said today, Zebedee fine.
He good. He good.
And guess what? Zebedee might end up being the spiritual father of the hirelings.
Ooh, that's good.
Because he knows how to make sons.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
so some have to remain behind. Because Zebedee just now might be moved from biological father
to spiritual.
Because God trusted him with the sons of thunder.
Oh, that's good.
And because I trusted you with the sons of thunder, one of the original 12 apostles, I'm going to leave these on the boat so that you can now father them out of that hireling orphan spirit into sonship that they can now hear the call. So Zebedee, we don't talk about him, but he's a big to do. He's a father. He's a spiritual and he's a natural father. So his boat is his ministry. It produces disciples.
Wow.
His ship probably is called Fishers of Men Incorporated. Because God came to him to find his part of his team. Because he could trust what Zebedee was producing. Oh, yeah.
Man, that's good.
He knew. He came and found them because he knows Zebedee. What Zebedee put in place. Wow. And because what Zebedee trained these boys to be, God came for them. So Zebedee is really the one that we should be celebrating.
That's the one we should be celebrating. That's the one should be
celebrating on Father's Day. Because Zebedee did his job. Wow. So God says, there go a man after my own heart that's producing sons after my own heart. And I'm going to leave these folk in the boat so you can now impart into them. They may not be yours biologically, but you have modeled fatherhood to them. They must stay in the boat with you in your ministry until they now can be fishers of men. Zebedee, we don't know the full story of Zebedee, but he's a disciple maker. He's a son maker.
For Christ.
For Christ.
Oh, my God.
And this is stuff that the Lord just gave me about Zebedee. I've never talked about the man. I ain't even barely could pronounce his name. But Zebedee's a big deal. He's a son maker.
That's amazing. That revelation just of who he is and what he's done. He actually prepared and positioned these young men to follow Christ. They didn't just stumble into the walk with Christ. He raised them. He imparted into them. He gave them all the stuff they need to be prepared to follow Christ.
They know how to do business. They know how to deal with people. They know, and watch this now. They've been washed. They've been mended. So these are not broken men.
Good. That's good. That's good.
Because he's taught them how to wash the nets and how to mend the nets. So he's taught them how to keep their lives washed and how to keep their lives mended. Fix the holes. Fix the tears.
Wow.
So nothing slips. So they're trained already. All they're now doing is moving. He took the same training and puts them in the kingdom and gives them power over spiritual fish, over spiritual predators, creepy crawling things. They're the same fishermen, but they got principles. Wow. So watch this. When you got principles of the word, you don't always need prophecy.
That's good.
So you don't always need the prophet talking to you because the principles are daily. So you don't have to wait on the prophet. I hope he says something to me. Because prophecies only work when principles are properly applied.
True.
So if you don't have the principles behind the prophecy,
prophecy.
The prophecy it might not work for you. So with Timothy, his mom and his grandmama, he says, stir up the gifts. Because your grandmama laid hands on you, your mama laid hands on you, they prayed for you, stir up these gifts in you, and I want you to keep functioning because you got principles. So this is not just something random. You can operate in this, so you don't need all of these prophetic words because you got principles. Work the principles so that the prophecy comes to pass. We got a lot of prophetic word, but we have no principles. So we don't know how to build mega. So when when Bishop Thornton speaks mega, y'all shouting, but I go into, okay, what I got to build? What's my principles that I must now apply? What I need to work on leadership, culture, vision, direction, infrastructure. What does that look like? I go into building mode. I go into principle mode. So every week, what do I need to apply so that the prophecy comes to pass?
Wow.
You need more. If you operated more on your principles, you wouldn't need as much prophecy. Because finances are not, you don't always need, I declare a breakthrough over your finances. If you have principles, and you had a budget, and you knew how to save, you know, I had a Roth IRA.
Financial literacy,
some financial literacy. Had some land, some real estate. You see what I'm saying? The principles, the nets. We're financially traumatized because we didn't, especially in the Black community, many of us don't have nets. We're trying to catch all of this fish by our hand, by jobs. We're trying to catch big fish with jobs. What you hear is, we're trying to catch all this fish with jobs. You got to spend 40 plus hours on a job. So how do you have time to catch all this fish? So it's frustrating because I'm knitting other people's nets that they're casting, and I don't have my own nets. And that's why sometimes we're so angry at our fathers. That you didn't teach me.
Wow.
My grandfather owned a business. He not one time sat down and talked to me about business, how to run this store he had. So I'm like, that's where a lot of men are. No one taught me, no one positioned me, no one taught me about these nets.
Nobody put me
and
in
the
place.
one I do have is torn and is rotting. And I'm trying to catch this fish for my family. And the fish keeps slipping through. I don't know how to mend it. And I don't know how to restore it. I don't have no principles. So I need prophecy all the time. I need to throw money on the altar for the prophecy, but I have no principles. It's the principles.
Man, it's too good.
So, I'm a hush.
No, you ain't got to hush. I think we went in a different direction.
But it's still in the sandwich. It's still in the sandwich.
It's still inside there.
Just push it down some. Put a little mayo on it and eat it. Blue plate. Not that Miracle Whip mess. We don't do Miracle Whip in the South. We barely do Hellman's. Blue plate. Hear me. Hear the apostle. Blue plate.
If you want the sandwich
if you want God to bless you, use blue plate mayonnaise on these sandwiches that I'm giving you. And the Lord gonna favor your house. Hey, how your head feeling?
Like stars. Like stars. I'm seeing stars.
I'm done.
Listen, hey, thank you, man, for tuning in to the Follow the King podcast. As always, man, I would encourage you to make sure you go back and catch this on our YouTube, man. And until next time, man, thank God for you. God bless you. I'm Elder Frank. This is Apostle Law. We out.